Gary DeLacy's off somewhere doing something that superintendent of schools
Very
do.
important.
Yeah, so we've got Denny Duerling and Bill Misiewicz to talk about Clinton High School's Hall of Honor. And Denny, if you would, just first of all, who are the 5 that are going in?
The 5 going in alphabetical order, are Diane Andrews, Casey Bush, Brian Guy, George Nord, and William Willie Thiessen.
Again, this is the 5th class. Just for our listeners, how did this all come about, the Hall of Honor?
Well, I give the credit to Gary DeLacy, even though I'm quote-unquote the chairperson of the committee. But Gary grabbed me right after he became superintendent, excuse me, and had this idea, since we have a Hall of Fame for sports and athletics, he wanted to do something for those that distinguished themselves in their careers in education, in medicine, in the military, in business, and have them be able to come and speak to our young students and say, look, I graduated from Clinton High, and you can do good things in the world.
And we've had some very distinguished members go into the Hall of Honor. Talk a little bit about the process of the selection.
Well, that's a good thing to talk about, and Bill will jump in here too. We need people in the community or the area, or those hearing us worldwide, to nominate people that they think are worthy of the honor of being in the Hall of Honor. We'll do a lot of the background work, but we're finding a lot of people know people that are worthy, but I don't want to take the time to write an essay. Well, as Mark Massey said, who's on the committee, people don't want to do homework. And Bill does so much of that. He is the guru on that, so I'll let him share a little bit.
I'm a guru.
Well, I don't know what the guru.
Well, I think another
guy.
thing is, Gary, is that a lot of people sometimes downplay the accomplishments of their father, mother, or uncles, whatever. And so they don't understand that perhaps if you just send in the application or just even contact us through the school, it's such an easy world now. I've had people reach out to me, of course, through Facebook Messenger or Instagram, whatever. And people can reach out and just go, hey, I got this name, and we'll have a conversation about how to make the process go further.
So are you actually in need of nominations then?
Well, I would need, it would always be nice if every year we get at least, I would say 10 to 15. The committee has taken it upon themselves that they always, one committee member each year brings in at least one nominee. However, it's always nice if someone comes up and brings up another name. I just had another name pop in the other day. So it just keeps moving forward, but it's a very slow process.
I know, being a part of the Athletic Hall of Fame at Clinton High School, we usually have a carryover. People have been nominated before. Is kind of the same thing for the Hall of Honor?
Right. We do have some of that. And in fact, some of these people that have gone in before have been nominated. And, I think we go back and, just like ourselves in the Hall of Fame, that we take a look and say to ourselves, hey, maybe we should take a closer look, and that's what generally happens. We start taking a closer look. So
yeah, that's so true. Just in case of point, like a Phil Callahan,
right?
We kind of overlooked what he has done, and you'll certainly get strong consideration next time.
Right.
Hall of Honor. Let's talk about these people going in.
Okay, the very first one is Dr. Diane Andrews. Her maiden name was Randall. She graduated in '72, and her accomplishments are in the field of career accomplishments. She's in the medical field, nursing, and she is extremely well published. Her main focus was to make the jobs for nurses and caregivers in hospitals more effective and focus on the people, the nurses, who are doing the hard work. Figure out the scheduling, figure out procedures, and other initiatives to make it a better place. She's living in Florida. She eventually went down there to live and work, and extremely influential in the field of nursing.
I've known Diane since grade school. We both attended Horace Mann.
Oh,
Wow, neat.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. See, I'm class of 72 also.
okay.
Yeah. So
What a class.
she brought a lot more class to it than I did.
And then the next one that I have is Casey Rogus Bush. And Casey is the class of 1990. And that was an extremely strong class. I really enjoyed a lot of those kids, that 88 through, and it's just a really good bunch during that like 5 to 10 year period. She's actually being nominated for her accomplishments in the field of academia. She is basically now working in the field of education. She's at North Carolina State, and her job is to, 21st century learners, the new kind of teaching styles, we're moving towards a STEM, science, technology, engineering, math. And we have a great program here. And Casey Bush she's been around the world. She's been a teacher. She's been in the Peace Corps. She has her PhD from Stanford. And she's now at North Carolina State. And she basically is teaching people how to take the students to that next level into the 21st century.
So that's great. We got class of 72. We got class of 1990. And right now, 2 female inductees.
Yes. And I think I'm pretty proud of that to push forward, the females that have accomplished so much. I mean, some of the ones in the past that we put in were basically groundbreakers. And so this is really cool.
All right, very good. Who's going to do number 3?
Well, I'm doing number 3. I'm proud to talk about Brian Guy. Brian Guy, the class of 1978. I was tickled to death that he was nominated and then that he was voted in. I was his guidance counselor at Clinton High, and I remember a vivid scene where I was walking through the Commons one day when he was a freshman or sophomore, and the kids were picking on him because here he was, this little black kid that was sitting there all by himself, and he was in the police cadets program. And he really wanted to be a police officer way back when. And I went and told him, I said, young man, just don't give up. Don't give up. I mean, these kids are picking on you, and they're probably jealous. And by golly, look at what he's done. He entered the law enforcement as the youngest ever officer hired by the police department and became the longest serving police chief for Clinton. And he was instrumental in starting the Clinton Citizens Police Academy. He would have joined that when he was a sophomore, I'm sure. And he's been in law enforcement for a long time, and he created the standardized field training program for the Clinton Police Department. It's been on the state board, and great young man. And I think he'll give a great message to our young people to don't give up on your dreams.
Okay, we got a couple more to go, but before we talk about them and take a break for the weather, let's talk a little bit about the fact that when they do come back, and it'll be April 26th, the message that they try to get across to the current students.
Well, that's what we want them to share their story and to say that maybe they were nobodies and they became somebody because they had determination to move on and so forth. Bill had the story last year, if you remember, a young man who is now deceased, but back in the 40s, his folks moved to California and he stayed here. He lived on his own, and he was a sophomore, and worked 2 jobs so he could pay rented a boarding house. Bill introduced this gentleman in his honor, and he said, listen, you're sitting out here as sophomores, think of this. You got no mom and dad, you're working 2 jobs, and yet you're still going to school.
Tell us more about that, Bill. That's amazing.
I just, I can't recall right now because of his name. However, I think the most important thing, Gary, is that, high school is a pretty tough time for young people. They're trying to figure out who they are, what they are. They identify themselves either as, a lot of times, as an athlete or band member and such. And then they get up, out into, their field, or later on into their family. And they know now that they're more than just that. And they throw themselves into their passion, whether that's work or some recreational, thing that they do. And I think that the kids have to understand that graduating from high school is not the end all. In fact, it's really just the beginning. and there's so much more ahead of them that they can look forward to.
Again, we'll have more with Bill Misiewicz and Denny Duerling. The Hall of Honor for Clinton High School. A break for the weather now, brought to you by Midas.
Plan to spend some time outside if you can, because this will likely be the last time we see temperatures in the upper 60s for the rest of the year. Partly cloudy skies, windy, highs near 68. Tonight, cloudy, a stray shower will be possible late. Still windy. We'll see lows in the upper 30s. With your WQAD Storm Track 8 forecast, I'm meteorologist Andrew Stutzky.
Right now, a mix of sun and clouds, 56 degrees. South winds better than 10. Our update brought to you by Midas. Trust the Midas touch. Trust the Clinton Midas at 1432 Lincoln Way. You know all the problems winter driving can present. Let the Clinton Midas ease your mind. They feature quality tires no matter what type of vehicle you drive. They will make sure your battery is ready for winter and do an antifreeze check. Before you hit the road, get ready for winter driving by coming to the Clinton Midas, 1432 Lincoln Way, where they offer maintenance for your vehicle backed by their golden guarantee. FYI continues. We've listed 3 so far. Again, Diane Randall, Casey Rogus, now Bush, and Brian Guy. So we got 2 more to go over.
All right, so the next one is for Distinguished Military Service. George Nord, this is the class of 53. And so this is for his gallantry in Vietnam. And so if you think about it, let's play with the numbers a little bit. 1953, all right, you're saying to yourself, hey, this is an older gentleman who enlisted. Okay, he's an enlisted man. In fact, he rose to the highest rank as a enlisted man could do, and that was, let me try to find it here. Right here. He was basically a sergeant major in Vietnam, commanding over a lot of drafted kids. I mean, let's put ourselves into this. So the day he had that crowded hour, as Teddy Roosevelt would say, crowded hour on February 9th, 1968, as they're going into a part of Saigon, they come under heavy fire. And so not only is he coordinating the attack onto this small, I would say, village, this like little suburb of Saigon, with these young kids under fire. He's also coordinating, all right, the evacuation of the wounded, often coming within 50 meters of the enemy under heavy fire, all right? So he won the Bronze Star, the Silver Star, the Legion of Merit, and he was also wounded Purple Heart, all right? And he was able to do this, I mean, I don't know, under fire, under distress. His experience in the military saved so many lives that day, February 9th, 1968.
I can't imagine he's still with his class of 53, or is he?
He is.
He is. And, oh, my goodness. Now, where's he living?
South Carolina, I believe, and his brother lives here, Carl.
Okay, and is he going to make it back?
What we've understood is that there is a wedding in the family in Minnesota in April, and Carl's going to make sure he makes it down.
He would be so interesting to listen to. I mean, if he just tells about that one story that you passed along to us.
Right. And I'm just reading his combat record. And once again, I turned to Mr. Google to try to find some more information about this gentleman, and there really isn't anything. This kind of falls into another question I brought up among some of my students is, I wonder who is the most decorated combat veteran we've ever had go through Clinton High School. Now, you could argue that Brigadier General William Connor, obviously, but if you take him away from the equation, I'm just kind of wondering how many other people like George Nord that we don't know about, Yeah,
that's very true.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure, World War I, World War II, the Korean conflict, and as you mentioned, Vietnam.
Mm-hmm. And I would have to say that it would be somewhere in World War II or Vietnam, because by the time the guys from Clinton got into action at World War I, it was almost over. So yeah, those two conflicts would probably bring out the most distinguished battle veteran.
We have one more Hall of Honor inductee. Yes.
Well, can I add about George?
Go ahead.
Just to read one of the descriptions. When one of the vehicles was disabled, Sergeant Nord went forward to within 50 meters of the Viet Cong line and directed airstrikes as close as 4 feet from his position. When Sergeant Nord was informed that the other American advisor was wounded and lying exposed close to enemy positions, he dashed forward under hostile fire to recover the fallen person.
Amazing.
Amazing. It's great.
Sounds like Sergeant York and
Crowded hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crowded. What?
Teddy Roosevelt. Okay, so Teddy Roosevelt, when the charge up San Juan Hill took about 48 minutes. Think about that. In 48 minutes, that changed his entire life. My father served in combat in World War II. Those moments, which were sometimes only half hour to 45 minutes long, certainly has an impact on my father's life, and I'm sure a lot of other veterans' lives as well.
Great term, crowded hour. I had never heard that term before. That's amazing.
And you talk about George saving someone, Louis Burkhart's dad.
Yes.
Who is in the Hall of Honor.
Yes.
Escapes from concentration camp. Went back and was carrying on his shoulders one of his fellow escapees and made it to safe ground.
Yeah, I know the Burkhardt family pretty well. He went in last year, right?
Was it last year?
It was last year, I believe so. Okay. So we got one more.
All right, one more. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
This guy's name is Willie Thiessen, class of 1963. I graduated in 65, and I know Willie. He was 2 years ahead of me. He was nominated for the area of professional career accomplishments. This is a guy that went from Clinton High to UNI and tried to make it in school. Wasn't for him. He told me the other day when I talked to him on the phone, because we reminisced about Max Lynn and Bill Holsclaw and Hank Vining and all these teachers. He said, Dad came out to UNI and said, Willie, this is it. What do you mean, Dad? Oh, you're done. You're not doing, no, I'm not paying for this anymore. You're going to come back to Clinton and work with me on the railroad. And Willie said, no, I'm not. And so Willie said, I'm going to California. So he went out to California and then eventually got back to Omaha and was working in a bar, and the people would bring in pizzas to eat and drink beer at the bar. He said, well, why don't I just make a beer and bar place and pizza? So he developed Godfather's Pizza. That's Willie. And we had Godfather's Pizza here in town. He's been recognized from all over the world for his accomplishments. He built the largest mansion, 20,000 square feet in Omaha.
Hey, that's an accomplishment considering that Warren Buffett lives in Omaha.
Okay, well, this was back when. Yes, he had his own helicopter pad at his house so he could get to his corporate office. And then after a while, he sold that mansion to the guy who owns Oriental Trading Company. Big name. So then, but Willie also sold Godfathers to Pillsbury and got into all sorts of other endeavors. But in talking with him the other day, we're certainly hoping he can make it. He has a message that he talks to students nowadays, too, about work ethic, being on time, being dedicated, and how he had started out working at Makel's down there on 2nd Street, and the different little jobs he did. And he's very proud of the work ethic that his dad instilled in him.
Again, the Hall of Honor, April 26th. I know they get the opportunity to speak to the students. Is there like a little back and forth? Do the students get to communicate with them?
Oh, yeah, there's a more less formal setting, and they'll be sitting at tables with representatives of the school, including students, and they have an opportunity to, hear the conversation. A lot of times kids hear conversations at tables at home. I don't know if people still eat at tables at home, but here's a situation where they'll be with, professional people in a professional setting. This will be great exposure. Then there's also some opportunities to talk to them after they give a small speech. And they take a tour of the building. This will be different because the building as we know it no longer really exists. And so they'll be taking a tour of the newer building.
And there is a luncheon, and the public is invited. Okay. So if you know any of these people and you'd like to come and say hi and see them, that's fine. We have this now. It's really set up great with Clinton High, in that it's in conjunction with the academic awards ceremony. So you have your freshmen, sophomore, and juniors are getting awards, and we have two people speak and they get awards, and then we go break for lunch, and then in the afternoon we have our senior awards convocation there, and two other people speak, and it's great.
It is great. We got about 4 minutes left in the program, and I just wanted to touch upon this with you, Bill, because it was it last week, the Synergy event up on the north end?
Yes.
It was last Wednesday, I believe, right? How did that go?
It went really well. We were expecting a turnout of anywhere between 50 to 80 people. I think the count that we had yesterday was about 150 that came in and out at some point. As usual, the band performed very well, but some of the students were
He's
able
talking
to...
about staff infection course.
Yes.
The students were able to perform with the band as well. We had one of our students, Brad Shoemake, play bass with us. We had a great turnout, and we were able to raise, I believe, the final... We don't have a final right now. We're waiting on some numbers to be counted through Information Referral Services. However, I believe it's over $5,500 that people donated.
That is great.
It was unbelievable.
And I would imagine someday these young people that are in Synergy may find themselves in our Hall of Honor.
Exactly.
I'll be honest with you, with this group especially, yes. I'm looking forward to it.
Any closing comments before we let you guys go? And again, thank you so much for coming in today.
Well, I think Mr. Guru is sitting right here. Mr. Google, excuse me. I said Guru. Google. And Mrs. Google is Jenny Mann. She is his go-to.
My investigator.
Well, she's been at Clinton High. She was inducted last year.
I was going to say, she went into the hall last year.
First one ever in that category.
So we use Jenny to verify whether there's attended Clinton High School, and we can track them down a little bit there. A lot of times, if you, I'm not going to give away any secrets, but to find people, you need certain kind of information, and she can provide information that I can use to try to track down some of the people.
Okay.
But once again, I want to say we need people to nominate family members or friends that they know of.
And how can they do that?
Denny,
Call the school district. We said as simple as that. Just call the school district. Or if you see any of us on the street, say, hey, I got an idea for one. And we'll say, write it down, give us a call, text us, and then we'll do all the legwork.
There's a link on the CCSD website.
Hey, thank you both for coming in today.
Thank you.
The Dan Patrick Show.